All right, I'm going to go over the Let's Be Rational test review. 1A, a local newspaper, the Lansing Times, sells advertising space. It charges advertisers according to the fraction of a page their ad will fill. A new restaurant owner purchased ads to run in the paper over several days. She bought 2 1/4 pages, 9 1/10 pages, and 5 1/3 pages. What was the total amount of space that she bought? So here's a visual of what that was purchased. 2 1/4 would be easier to write as 2/4. And then this is 9/10, which is easier to write as just 9/10. And this is 5/3. So if I want to find the total for the number of pages that were purchased, I would need to add these together. And to be able to add these together, I need to find a common denominator. So I could do 4 times 10 is 40, and 40 times 3 is 120. That might not be the least common denominator, but it is a denominator they have in common. So 4 times 30 is 120, and 2 times 30 is 60. 9 times 12 is 120, and this is 108. And 3 times 40 is 120, and 5 times 40 is 200. So if I add these together, I end up with 200, and 108 is 308, plus 60 is 368 over 120. 120 into 360 goes 3 times, with a remainder of 8. I can reduce by 4. I can reduce by 2. And I end up with 3 1/15 pages. B. The Comfy Couch Furniture Store purchased 2 1/2 pages to advertise upcoming sales for the summer. The store decided to cancel 5/8 pages purchased for the advertising. How many pages of advertising did the local newspaper actually print? So I started out with 2 1/2. I have to take away the 5/8, which means I need to rename this as 8ths. I can't do 4/8 minus 5/8, so I borrow from here and add 8/8, which gives me 12/8. 12/8 minus 5/8 is 7/8, and 1 minus 0 is 1. So they actually ended up buying 1 7/8 pages. Number 2, Connor's father bought 4 1/2 pounds of chocolate to make s'mores. He estimates that he will need 1/4 of a pound of chocolate to make each s'more. So we're basically, I have 4 1/2 pounds of chocolate. I need to have 1/4 for each one. So I'm trying to figure out how many fourths there are in there. So what I'm doing is taking that 4 1/2 and I'm dividing it into 1/4 pieces. So I need to change this to an improper fraction, which would be 9/2. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Divided by 1/4. Well, we can't divide fractions. We flip the second and multiply. I can reduce first if I'd like, which gives me 18. So it says, how many s'mores can he make with the chocolate purchase? He can make 18 s'mores. 3. Sammy's mother bought 3 1/2 pounds of pecans. Sammy ate 1/8 of the pecans before he went to bed. It doesn't say 1/8 of a pound. It doesn't say 1/8 of a cup. It says 1/8 of them. Of means multiply. So I'm trying to figure out what is 1/8 of 3 1/2. Rewrite this as an improper fraction. And you end up with 7/16 of a pound is what he ate. And B is how many pounds were left. Well, he started out with 3 1/2. He ate 7/16. 8/16 minus 7/16 is 1/16. 3 minus nothing is 3. So we have 3 1/16 pounds left. 4 n minus 3/5 equals 7/20. So I want this to say n equals. It does not say n equals, so I've got to figure out what do I need to get rid of. I need to get rid of this, that minus 3/5. So to get rid of a minus or a subtraction, you add to both sides. This is going to cancel out, and you end up with n equals 7/20 plus 3/5. I will need to rename this as 20ths And I end up with 7/20 plus 12/20 is 19/20 is n, which was C. 5 1/4 times n equals 12. This is multiplication, so to get rid of it, we have to divide both sides by 1/4. That cancels. You end up with n equals 12 divided by 1/4. Put the 12 over 1. We do not divide fractions. We flip the second, which is called a reciprocal, and multiply. So you end up with 12 over 1 times 4 over 1, which is 48 over 1, which is 48, which is B. 6, n plus 1/4 equals 13/20. So we need to get rid of this plus 1/4 because we want it to say n equals. So that means we have to take away 1/4 from both sides. Those will cancel. N equals 13/20 minus 1/4. To subtract fractions, I like to make mine vertical. I need to rename this. I have 13/20 minus 5/20, which is 8/20, reduced by 4, and I get 2/5, which is C. It actually doesn't even give the reduced. All right, 7 says 4 divided by 1/4 equals n. We do not divide fractions. We give the reciprocal of the second, which is flipping the second, and then multiply, which is 16. So number 7 should have been C. 8, the sum of 2.5 and 1/3. The sum is referring to the answer to an addition problem. You'll need to know that term. So rename both of these with a common denominator. And you end up with 3/6 plus 2/6 is 5/6. 2 plus 0 is 2. So your answer would have been 2 and 5/6. 9, the difference of 2.5 and 1/3. Remember, difference is referring to subtraction. 3/6 minus 2/6 is 1/6. 2 minus 0 is 2. 9 should have been 2 and 1/6. 10 is the product of 2.5. Remember, product is multiply. 2.5 and 1/3. Rename this as 5/2 times 1/3, which gives you 5/6 as an answer. Number 11, quotient refers to division. Change this to an improper fraction. We don't divide, we multiply and flip the second, and that gives you 15/2, which is 2 goes into 15 7 times with a remainder of 1. The denominator stays the same. 7.5 is your answer. If you have any questions before the test, please come see me. Thanks.